May around 50, and just below that we have our recent lows near 48. Finally, taking a look at point C, those are the yearly lows right around 44. So that would be kind of the based on the current price action, that would be kind of the worst case scenario in the near term to hit. So be on the lookout for a stall in the downtrend around that area or for a breakthrough beyond that point. One final point to make too, just like in our previous chart, we had the downside breakout below the lower Bollinger Band near point B. Once again, we're also seeing those Bollinger Bands starting to widen and spread out even further, suggesting that the volatility is climbing again. So this could be volatility rising is a double-edged sword. It can mean good opportunities. It can also mean higher risk as well. So be careful.
I wanted to reiterate that $48 level that you mentioned that we got news today from this Engine Capital that said that's where the stock closed 10 years ago. So while we might see this positive price activity and, highs this year, and it's gained, I think, over 20% this year, we do have to keep in mind that over a decade period, the stock hasn't done much, which is very interesting. But Rick, as always, thank you so much for joining us on this Monday. That's Rick Ducat, TD Ameritrade Network contributor. So again, I think my concern, Alex, here is the growth story in Kohl's, because we've looked at the last 2 years. We have seen decent price movement, but when you consider the longer term, Kohl's hasn't done much.
And that's why the starting point is so important when you're talking outperformance. Chewy certainly had a much better 2020 till now period than Kohl's has over the last decade, for example. But when you're considering Kohl's, it's been a tough one to trust throughout the years for those reasons. And so the example trade that I looked at looks for continued upside in this case because there has been positive developments in the narrative. There has been potentially a movement towards a reopened country and world, which Kohl's, of course, would benefit from, with traditionally brick and mortar being its primary way of getting goods to its customers. What we're looking at here is buying a call calendar. And so also with this recent move lower that we've seen near-term volatilities explode at a faster rate than longer-term volatilities. So we have a unique opportunity where we can actually sell the December 60 call for a greater volatility number than buying the January call. Still do it for a debit because obviously we're buying additional time going out to January, but that spread may actually be a little bit compressed as a result of that volatility structure. If that normalizes, this could be a benefit for this particular trade. Buying it for $1.25. Best case scenario would be a slow grind up towards $60, which is also a pretty congested area on the chart, Jenny, if you looked at Kohl's over the last year.
Yeah, and I also think it's important to know that this trade has time on our side, and we're heading into what should be a very strong holiday season. So you consider higher volume, higher foot traffic. I mean, this is all hopefully, but just based off trends we've already seen with Black Friday and Cyber Monday, they are expecting things to only...
That would all fall into the benefit of this style trade, which looks for kind of a slow grind towards 60. Downside is if we overshoot to the upside, that can work against us. And of course, if we don't get a move at all, that can work against us as well. But you mentioned the time element to this. And of course, the risk on the trade is the debit spent. So it is a risk-defined trade at $1.25. That's $125 plus fees for every one that we did. So able to kind of pick a spot, look for that move, but also highly customizable, risk-defined, and in that sense, you're able to kind of control that risk to a point where $1.25 is something you're worth taking a shot in Kohl's for. This could be a strategy that vaults to the list.
Absolutely, and the stock now currently trading at only about $8.50 away from that level, so 60 doesn't seem so far-fetched in that moment. And we're also, I mean, the strength they're just seeing today up 6.5%. We saw it surge actually over 7%. So lots of positive price activity today in Kohl's. But that does it for this segment today, Alex. Now coming up next, we will be talking Spirit Airlines after an analyst upgrade. Some positive news in